this filthy beggar in to embarrass me at my wedding?
VP at a massive East Coast corporation.
I'm Naomi's father.
No wonder I had to teach her how to use a salad fork.
Bradley looked him up and down.
I came to walk my daughter down the aisle.
In that suit? You dig that out of a donation bin?
You're making a mistake, son.
Throw this clown out.
Frederick locked eyes. 200 guests, dead silence.
Remember this moment.
0 spines. Security dragged a black father out of his own daughter's wedding. That groom just threw out the man who owned his entire career. 6 hours earlier, Frederick Turner woke up at 5 a.m., same as every day for the last 30 years. His apartment in Bridgeport was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom with a leaky faucet he kept meaning to fix. The kitchen smelled like coffee and ironing starch. He stood at the ironing board in his undershirt, pressing the navy suit 1 crease at a time. Slow, careful, like he was ironing a uniform for war. On the counter behind him sat 2 framed photos. The first one, a little girl on his shoulders, mouth wide open, laughing. Naomi, age 6, pigtails, missing 2 front teeth. The second, that same girl in a cap and gown, tears running down her face, diploma in her hand. He smiled every time he looked at those photos. Today, he held the second one a little longer. On the kitchen table, he laid out a gift. A pocket watch. Gold, scratched, heavy. It belonged to his father. Beside it, a handwritten letter on plain paper. No fancy stationery, just words from a father to his daughter. He wrapped them both in brown paper, tied it with string. Simple. He looked at himself in the bathroom mirror. The suit fit fine, nothing special. He tugged the collar straight and whispered to himself, "She's not marrying the suit. She's marrying what's inside the man." On his desk by the window, half hidden under old books, sat a leather portfolio, embossed with 3 gold letters, P-A-H. He glanced at it, didn't pick it up, not today. Today he was just a father. Now, the Ashford estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, that was a different universe. A private road lined with 100-year-old oaks. Valets in black vests parking Porsche after Mercedes after Range Rover. The main building looked like it belonged in an English countryside. Stone walls, ivy, iron gates. Inside it smelled like lilies and money. Crystal chandeliers hung over a ballroom that seated 200. White roses exploded from every table. The silverware alone cost more than Frederick's car. A champagne tower glittered near the entrance. The string quartet played something soft and expensive in the corner. Diana Wells, the wedding planner, marched around with a clipboard barking orders at caterers. Every napkin folded at the same angle, every candle the same height, everything perfect, everything controlled. The guest list read like a Wall Street directory. Hedge fund managers, country club presidents, corporate lawyers, old Connecticut money shaking hands with new Connecticut money. Nearly every face was white. Naomi's side? Smaller. Her mother Lorraine, her best friend Savannah Brooks, a handful of aunts and cousins. They were seated at tables near the back, far from the head table, far from the spotlight. Nobody questioned the seating. That's just how it was arranged. And then there was Bradley Davis, 34 years old, square jaw, country club tan, the kind of smile that made you trust him for exactly 5 minutes before you realized it never reached his eyes. On paper, he was a winner. VP of Operations at Pinnacle Atlantic Holdings, one of the largest infrastructure and investment firms on the East Coast. His father Grant came from old money. His mother Helen came from older money. Bradley grew up believing the world was built for people who looked like him. He was charming when it served him. He shook hands hard. He dropped names soft. Every detail of this wedding, the venue, the flowers, the guest list, was curated to project one thing: power. He'd told Naomi early on, "Keep the guest list from your side manageable." He'd told her, Your dad doesn't need to make a speech. He'd told her, "This day is about our future, not your past." Naomi loved him, or she thought she did. She agreed to most of it. She kept the peace. She didn't tell Bradley the full truth about her father, partly because Frederick asked her not to, partly because she wanted to see if Bradley could love her family as they were. One thing mattered most. Bradley had never met Frederick in person. He'd only seen one blurry photo on Naomi's phone from years ago. To Bradley, Frederick was just Naomi's dad who does some consulting thing. He had no idea who was about to walk through his front door. Let's rewind to the moment it all went wrong. Frederick's cab pulled up to the Ashford estate at exactly 4:15 p.m. Not a town car, not a limo, a yellow cab. The valet stared at it like a roach had crawled onto the driveway. Frederick stepped out, navy suit, brown paper gift under his arm. He tipped the driver $10 and walked toward the entrance. The first pair of eyes hit him before he reached the door. A woman in a pearl necklace nudged her husband. The husband looked away, looked back again. The kind of double-take people do when something doesn't match the scenery. Frederick kept walking. Inside the lobby, the air changed, cool, perfumed. The chandelier threw little rainbows across the marble floor. Guests moved in clusters, laughing, clinking glasses, performing wealth for each other. Frederick stepped through the front door. 3 steps in, he stopped. Bradley was already walking toward him. Not walking, charging, jaw tight, eyes locked. The smile he wore for his guests was gone. What replaced it was something raw, something ugly. "Who let this filthy beggar in to embarrass me at my wedding?" He said it loud enough for the string quartet to stop. The lobby went dead silent. Every champagne glass froze mid-sip. Frederick stood still. He held the brown paper gift against his chest like a shield. His voice came out calm, level. "I'm Naomi's father." Bradley stopped 2 feet away from him, close enough for Frederick to smell the bourbon on his breath. He looked Frederick up and down, the suit, the shoes, the gift wrapped in paper that probably cost 50 cents. "Her father?" He let out a laugh that bounced off the marble. "No wonder I had to teach her how to use a salad fork." A few guests near the bar chuckled. Not many, but enough. Frederick's jaw tightened, just barely. "I came to walk my daughter down the aisle." "In that suit?" Bradley flicked Frederick's lapel with 2 fingers. "You dig that out of a donation bin?" "You're making a mistake, son. My only mistake was letting Naomi invite the ghetto to my wedding." Bradley snapped his fingers at 2 security guards standing near the entrance. Big men, black suits, earpieces. "Throw this clown out, now." The guards hesitated. One of them, younger, maybe 25, looked at Frederick's face. Saw something there. Dignity. Pain. The kind of quiet that only comes from a man who's been disrespected before and survived it. "Sir," the young guard said softly, "maybe we should check the guest list first." "I didn't ask you to check anything," Bradley snapped. "I asked you to remove him. Do your job or I'll find someone who will." The older guard stepped forward, put a hand on Frederick's shoulder, not rough, but firm. "I'm sorry, sir, I need you to come with us." Frederick looked at the guard's hand on his shoulder, then at Bradley, then at the 200 faces watching him like he was a show. He didn't resist. He didn't raise his voice. He turned toward the door and walked. His shoes echoed on the marble, every step loud in the silence. The chandelier light caught the brown paper gift still pressed against his chest. Behind him, Colton Moore, Bradley's best man, 3 bourbons deep, leaned against the bar and called out, "Yo, somebody tell the shelter they lost one!" Laughter. Not a lot, but it was there. Frederick pushed through the heavy oak doors. They closed behind him with a sound like a coffin lid. He was gone. The string quartet started playing again, like nothing happened. Upstairs, Naomi was standing in front of a mirror. Her wedding dress was ivory silk, strapless, a cathedral train pooling behind her like spilled cream. Her hair was pinned up with baby's breath woven through. She looked like a painting. Savannah Brooks, her maid of honor, was fixing a loose pin near the veil when her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Her hands froze. She read the text, then read it again. Naomi?
Your dad just got thrown out.
Naomi turned from the mirror. What? Bradley had security remove him, just now, in front of everyone. The color drained from Naomi's face. Her fingers gripped the edge of the vanity. The knuckles went white. That's not... He wouldn't... Girl, he did. One of my cousins just texted me, said Bradley called him a beggar. In the lobby, in front of 200 people. Naomi's chest rose and fell. Once, twice, 3 times. Then she grabbed the front of her dress with both fists and ran. She came down the main staircase like a storm in ivory silk. Guests at the bottom scattered. Champagne sloshed. Someone dropped a plate. She found Bradley in the lobby. He was straightening his cufflinks, smiling, like he'd just taken out the trash and was proud of it. Bradley. He turned, saw her face. His smile dimmed, but didn't disappear. Babe, you look amazing. Why are you down here? The ceremony's in... You threw out my father? The lobby went quiet again. Second time in 10 minutes. Guests who had just started pretending everything was normal froze mid-conversation. Bradley stepped closer, lowered his voice. Babe, relax. He showed up looking like a janitor. I'm protecting our image here. You'll thank me later. Thank you? Naomi's voice cracked. He's my dad, Bradley. And this is my wedding. Bradley straightened up. Do the math, Naomi. $300,000. The Whitmore partners are here. My parents' entire circle is here. And your father shows up in a $40 suit looking like he came straight from a bus stop? No, I'm not having that. Naomi stared at him. Her lips trembled. Not from sadness, from something deeper. You don't even know who he is. Bradley rolled his eyes. I know enough. He's a guy who couldn't afford a decent outfit for his own daughter's wedding. That tells me everything. Naomi shook her head slowly. No, Bradley, it doesn't tell you anything. Not one thing. She turned and walked toward the front door. Bradley called after her. Naomi! Naomi! Don't make a scene! She didn't stop. Outside, the sun was dropping low. Golden light spilled across the stone courtyard. Frederick sat on a bench near the oak trees, the brown paper gift resting on his lap. He wasn't crying. He wasn't shaking. He was still. The kind of still that scared people who didn't understand it. Naomi burst through the doors. She saw him on the bench and her whole body crumbled. She ran to him, wedding dress dragging across the gravel, and threw her arms around his neck. Daddy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Frederick held her. One hand on the back of her head, the other around her shoulders. He closed his eyes. Baby girl, it's okay. It's not okay. I know. He pulled back, looked at her face, wiped a tear with his thumb. I know it's not. They sat there for a moment, father and daughter, on a stone bench, outside a wedding that cost more than most people's houses. Then Frederick pulled out his phone. He scrolled through his contacts. Naomi caught a glimpse. Names she recognized. Names anyone would recognize. CEOs, board members, a former senator. He didn't call any of them. He called one number, put the phone to his ear. Reggie, it's me. A pause. Yeah, he did exactly what you said he would. Another pause. No, I'm not going to make a scene, but I think it's time he finds out. He looked at Naomi. She looked at him. Something passed between them. Not words. Understanding. Come to the venue. Bring the file. He hung up, slid the phone back in his pocket, looked up at the Ashford estate. His face was calm, resolved, like a man who'd been holding a card for 30 years and finally decided to play it. Naomi whispered, Dad, what did you just do? Frederick smiled, the first real smile all day. I gave him exactly what he asked for. Back inside the Ashford estate, Bradley Davis was doing what Bradley Davis did best, controlling the room. He moved through the lobby with a fresh glass of champagne and a smile stitched so tight It could have been surgical. Hand on shoulders, firm nods. That voice, the one he saved for investors and in-laws. Just a little mix-up at the door, nothing to worry about. The man was confused. Probably wasn't feeling well. His mother Helen appeared at his elbow, 61 years old, pearl earrings, a face that looked like it had never apologized for anything.
I told you,
She said, her voice low and sharp as a letter opener. Marrying outside our circle brings complications. It's handled, Mom. Is it? Because from where I was standing, it looked like your fiancé's family just turned your wedding into a shelter outreach. Bradley's jaw flexed. I said it's handled. His father Grant stepped in. 70, silver hair, the kind of man who hadn't raised his own voice in 30 years because he paid other people to do it. The Whitmore partners are here, Bradley. Keep this contained. Smile, pour wine, make it disappear. Bradley nodded, took a breath, straightened his cufflinks, again, and turned back toward the crowd. But Naomi was standing in the side hallway, arms crossed, mascara smudged, still in her wedding dress, and she was not smiling. Bradley walked over, leaned in close. Babe, go upstairs, fix your face. We start in 20 minutes. Fix my face? You know what I mean. You look like you've been... Crying? Yeah, because you just humiliated my father in front of every person I know. Bradley grabbed her wrist. Not hard, but not soft either. Possessive. The way you grab something you think you own. Smile. Walk out there. We are not ruining this day because your father's feelings got hurt. Naomi pulled her wrist free, slowly, deliberately. Don't touch me like that. I built all of this for us, Naomi. The venue, the guest list, the future. The least your family could do is not embarrass me. Naomi stared at him for a long time. Then she said something quiet, something Bradley didn't catch because he'd already turned away. You have no idea what my family built. Meanwhile, at the bar, Colton Moore was 3 bourbons past his limit and 0 bourbons past his true personality. He spotted Savannah Brooks refilling her water glass near the appetizer table. Savannah, Naomi's best friend, maid of honor, black, the only person in the bridal party who'd told Naomi to her face that Bradley was a mistake. Colton sidled over, leaned against the bar, smiled that drunk, lopsided smile that men like him confused for charm. So, you're on the bride's side, right? Savannah didn't look at him. Obviously. Must be nice, getting invited to something like this. Probably don't see a lot of places like the Ashford estate in your neighborhood. Now she looked at him. Excuse me? I'm just saying, cultural differences, right? Different worlds. Some people know how to carry themselves at events like this. Some people, he gestured vaguely toward the front door, don't. Savannah set her glass down. Are you talking about Frederick? I'm talking about knowing your place at certain events. Some folks just don't have the breeding for it. Savannah's hand slid into her clutch. Her phone was already recording, had been since the second he opened his mouth. Colton didn't notice. He was too busy laughing at his own joke. Relax, he said. I'm just being honest. Somebody had to say it. Savannah smiled, sweet as antifreeze. Keep going, please. Outside, Lorraine Turner, Frederick's ex-wife, sat beside him on the stone bench. She was shaking, not from cold, from rage. I told Naomi, Lorraine said. I told her that boy was rotten, all money and no soul. Frederick stared at the oak trees. It's not about the money, Lorraine. It never was. Then what is it about? Because from where I'm sitting, that man just threw you out like garbage because of the color of your skin and the price of your suit. Frederick was quiet for a moment, then, it's about what people show you when they think you can't do anything to them. Lorraine wiped her eyes. So what now? Now we wait. And here's the part of the story that changes everything. See, Frederick Turner didn't just work in consulting. That was the word he used because it was easy, because it didn't invite questions. The truth? 28 years ago, Frederick Turner started a logistics company in his garage. One truck, one contract, 16-hour days. He drove the routes himself for the first 3 years, slept in the cab, ate gas station sandwiches, built the thing with his bare hands, and a stubbornness that bordered on insanity. That company grew, then it merged, then it acquired, then it became Pinnacle Atlantic Holdings, a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure and investment conglomerate with offices in 12 cities and contracts on 3 continents. Frederick was the founder, the majority shareholder, the chairman of the board. 10 years ago, he stepped back, quietly. No press conference, no farewell tour. He installed his most trusted partner, Reginald Simmons, as CFO and handed the day-to-day to a board of directors. He moved back to Bridgeport, kept the small apartment, drove a 10-year-old sedan, lived like a man who had nothing to prove. Why? Because he didn't want Naomi to grow up in a bubble. He didn't want her defined by a net worth. He wanted her to be loved for who she was, not what her father owned. The company's ownership was held through the Turner Family Trust. The founder's name was buried in legal filings that nobody at the VP level would ever read. Which brings us to Bradley Davis. Bradley was hired at Pinnacle Atlantic 3 years ago. He climbed fast, not because he was brilliant, but because he was loud, confident, and connected. He knew the CFO's name, he knew the board members, he knew the stock price. But he had never, not once, met the founder. Didn't even know the founder's name, didn't care to ask. To Bradley, the company was a brand, a paycheck, a stepping stone. His salary, his stock options, his bonus, his corner office, the $300,000 wedding. All of it, every single dollar, flowed from the man he'd just thrown onto a stone bench outside. The irony wasn't just thick, it was suffocating. A black Lincoln Town car turned onto the private drive at 5:45 p.m. It rolled past the Porsches and Range Rovers and parked at the end of the row. The engine cut. Reginald Simmons stepped out. 6'2", custom 3-piece suit, charcoal with a window pane check, silver cufflinks, shoes that reflected the sunset. He moved like a man who'd walked into 1,000 rooms and owned every single one. Under his arm, a leather portfolio. In his hand, a manila envelope. He found Frederick on the bench, sat down beside him. No greeting, no small talk. He opened the envelope. Inside, Bradley's employee performance reviews, mediocre at best. 3 internal complaints from employees of color flagged against him for discriminatory behavior. An email chain where Bradley bragged to Colton about managing the optics of his fiancée's background, and a pending HR investigation that had been sitting on someone's desk for 6 months. Frederick read every page. His face didn't change. Stone. Reggie watched him. Then, say the word. Frederick closed the folder, looked up at the building where 200 people were drinking champagne paid for with his money. Not yet. Let him put the shovel down first. A pause. He's still digging. 6:15 p.m. The ceremony was supposed to start in 15 minutes. Guests were migrating from the lobby toward the ballroom. Chairs arranged in perfect rows. White petals scattered down the aisle. The string quartet switched to something slow and romantic. Everything was in place. Everything except the bride, and the father she'd just watched get dragged out the door. Bradley stood at the altar adjusting his boutonniere for the 3rd time. He leaned toward Colton. "Where the hell is Naomi?" "Probably fixing her makeup. Chill, bro. She'll show." Bradley checked his watch, scanned the room, smiled at the Whitmore partners in the 2nd row, nodded at his mother, kept the performance going. Then the front doors opened. Not gently, not politely. They swung wide like somebody meant it. Reginald Simmons walked in. Alone. Shoulders back. 3-piece suit catching the chandelier light like it was tailored by God himself. Silver cufflinks. Shoes that could blind you from 10 feet away. He didn't look left. He didn't look right. He walked straight down the center of the lobby like he'd bought the building and was deciding whether to keep it. The room shifted. It started with one whisper. A man at the table nearest the entrance grabbed his wife's arm. Honey, is that... Oh my God. That's Reginald Simmons. Then the next table, then the next. Then it rippled through the room like a stone dropped in still water. The Reginald Simmons? The CFO of Pinnacle Atlantic? He was on the cover of Forbes last quarter. Bloomberg interviewed him 2 weeks ago. What is he doing here? Bradley heard the name before he saw the face. Pinnacle Atlantic, his company, his CFO, at his wedding. His pulse spiked. His palms went damp. This wasn't just flattering, this was a gift from the networking gods. The kind of moment that could fast-track a career. The kind of handshake that opened doors money couldn't buy. He straightened his jacket, shot his cuffs, plastered on his best boardroom smile, the one he practiced in the mirror before quarterly reviews, and practically jogged toward the entrance. Mr. Simmons, sir, what an honor! What an absolute honor! He extended his hand so fast he nearly tripped over a flower arrangement. I'm Bradley Davis, VP of Operations in the Infrastructure Division. I've followed your work for years. Your keynote at the Morgan Stanley Summit last fall was... Reggie didn't take his hand. Bradley's fingers hung in the air. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. The longest 3 seconds of his life. Reggie looked at the hand, then at Bradley's face. Then he held up one palm, flat, firm, final. I know who you are, Bradley. Bradley's smile flickered. You do, sir? I do. Reggie's voice was calm, not loud. He didn't need loud. The room was already silent enough to hear a pin drop on velvet. But I'm not here for you. The smile died. I'm sorry, what? Reggie didn't repeat himself. He never repeated himself. He turned his body 90 degrees toward the open front doors, extended his right hand, and waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Frederick Turner walked back in. Same navy suit, same polished but worn shoes, same brown paper gift pressed against his chest. But something was different. His shoulders weren't hunched. His eyes weren't lowered. He walked in like a man who had spent 60 years carrying something heavy and had just decided to set it down. He walked in like he owned the room, because he did. The lobby went silent. Not whisper silent, not awkward silence silent, dead silent. The kind of silence where you could hear the candle flames bending in the air, the kind of silence that sits on your chest and presses down. Reggie waited until Frederick stood beside him. Then he turned to face the room. 200 guests, every eye locked on the two black men standing side by side in the entrance of a wedding that had tried to throw one of them away. Reggie spoke. Not rushed, not dramatic, just clear. Each word placed like a brick. Ladies and gentlemen, he paused, scanned the room, made eye contact with the Whitmore partners, with Helen Davis, with Grant, with Colton, with every single person who had watched Frederick get dragged out and done nothing. For those of you who don't know, and clearly some of you don't, another pause, longer this time, he let it breathe. This is Frederick Turner. The name meant nothing to most of them, not yet. But Reggie wasn't finished. Founder and chairman of the board of Pinnacle Atlantic Holdings. The words landed like a wrecking ball through a stained glass window. Someone dropped a fork. It clattered against a plate and echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. My boss, Reggie looked directly at Bradley. And, as I understand it, the father of the bride. The silence didn't break, it detonated. Helen Davis's champagne glass slipped from her fingers. It hit the marble floor and exploded into 100 tiny pieces. She didn't move to pick it up. She couldn't. Her hand was still frozen in the shape of the glass that was no longer there. Grant Davis's mouth fell open. His jaw literally dropped. The man who hadn't shown emotion in public since 1987 stood there looking like he'd been slapped by a ghost. Colton Moore's bourbon stopped halfway to his lips. His hand was shaking so hard the ice cubes rattled against the glass like teeth chattering in winter. The Whitmore partners exchanged a look, the kind of look that said, "We were never here." And Bradley didn't go pale, he went white. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost medical. His lips turned gray. His eyes went wide. Not surprised wide, but horror wide. The kind of wide that happens when your brain processes something your body hasn't caught up to yet. He staggered backward. His heel caught the edge of the aisle runner. He stumbled, almost fell, caught himself on the back of a chair. The chair scraped against the marble with a sound that made everyone wince. His mouth moved. No words came out, just air pushing past dry lips. Frederick didn't gloat, didn't point, didn't smirk. He walked forward until he was 10 feet from Bradley and stopped, the brown paper gift still in his hands. "I didn't come here to make a scene. I came to watch my daughter get married." He paused. "But it seems the groom had other plans." Bradley found his voice. Barely. It came out cracked, broken, like someone trying to speak through a throat full of sand. "Mr. Turner, Frederick, sir, I didn't. There's been a terrible. I had no idea who you. I know you didn't." Frederick's voice was steady, almost gentle, which made it worse. "That's the problem. You looked at me and decided I didn't belong. You didn't ask my name. You didn't ask your fiancé. You saw a black man in a cheap suit and called security." It wasn't. I swear it wasn't about. "Wasn't about what?" Frederick tilted his head. "Race? Money? Class?" He took one step closer. "Then tell me, Bradley, what was it about?" Bradley opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The whole room watched him search for an answer that didn't exist. Nothing came out, because there was nothing to say. Then Naomi stepped into the lobby. Still in her wedding dress, eyes red, mascara ruined, but her jaw was set like concrete. She walked past the guests, past the flowers, past the champagne tower that nobody was drinking from anymore. She stopped right in front of Bradley. She didn't yell, she didn't scream. Her voice came out quiet, steady, the kind of steady that costs everything you have. "I gave you a chance to love my family for who they are, not for what they have." She shook her head slowly. "You failed, Bradley." She pulled the engagement ring off her finger, a 3-carat diamond, placed it on the nearest table, gently. The diamond caught the chandelier light one final time. "The wedding is off." She turned her back on him, walked to her father, took his arm, and they walked out together. Father and daughter, navy suit and ivory silk, through the same doors that security had dragged him out of 45 minutes earlier. Nobody stopped them. Nobody said a word. Nobody breathed. Bradley dropped to his knees, not slowly, not gracefully. He collapsed like someone had cut his strings. Both knees hit the marble floor with a crack that echoed through the silent ballroom. 200 guests watched a grown man in a $10,000 tuxedo kneel on the ground like a beggar. The irony was almost poetic. "Naomi, please." His voice broke on the second word. "I love you. This was a mistake. A stupid, terrible mistake. I'll apologize to your father. I'll do anything. Anything you want." Naomi looked down at him. She didn't blink. "You humiliated him in front of everyone I care about. You humiliated me." She paused, let the words land. "And you only care now because you found out he's rich. That tells me everything I need to know about you." Bradley turned to Frederick. Actually crawled, 2 steps toward him on the marble floor. "Sir, please, I respect you. I've admired Pinnacle Atlantic my entire career. I've studied the company's growth model. I've told everyone it's the greatest—" "Stop," Frederick said at once. Quiet. And Bradley stopped like someone had pressed pause on his remote. "You admired a logo and a stock price. You didn't respect the man behind it." Frederick looked at him, not with anger, with something worse, disappointment. "And if you can't respect me, you don't respect my daughter, and you never did." Bradley's mouth opened. Nothing came out, just air. That's when Reggie stepped forward. He moved past Frederick, past Naomi, past the kneeling groom. He walked to the nearest table, set down the leather portfolio, and opened it with the calm precision of a surgeon laying out instruments. Bradley Davis. Bradley looked up from his knees. His eyes were wet, his tie was crooked. He looked like a man watching his own funeral. As Chief Financial Officer of Pinnacle Atlantic Holdings, I'm informing you that your conduct, both today and as documented in multiple internal complaints, constitutes grounds for immediate termination. The room gasped. Actually gasped. Like a movie. Except this wasn't a movie. Reggie laid 3 documents on the table, one by one, slowly, each one a nail in the coffin. Document 1. A formal complaint from Elijah Anderson, a black junior analyst on Bradley's team. Bradley had passed him over for promotion 3 times. The documented reason each time was cultural fit. 3 times. Same words, same analyst, same result. Document 2. An email from Bradley to Colton Moore. Subject line, dead weight. The email joked about diversity hires being charity cases who couldn't hack it without the quota. Bradley had written it from his work email. His work email. Document 3. The HR investigation summary, filed 6 months ago, buried by a mid-level HR manager who played golf with Bradley every other Thursday. The investigation found a pattern of discriminatory behavior across Bradley's entire department. It had been sitting on a desk waiting for board review, a review that the chairman of the board was now personally authorizing. Reggie straightened up. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Your stock options are voided per the morality clause in Section 12 of your contract. Security will collect your credentials Monday morning. Bradley scrambled to his feet. You can't just, this isn't... Grant Davis pushed through the crowd. His face was purple. Now hold on. You can't do this. My son has rights. We'll call our attorneys. The board has full authority, Mr. Davis. Reggie didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. And the chairman just gave his approval. He glanced at Frederick. Frederick gave one small nod. Are there any further questions? Grant opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, then turned and walked away, pulling Helen by the arm. The venue emptied like a bathtub with the plug pulled. Guests left in clusters, some fast, some slow. A few, the brave or the guilty, stopped near Frederick to mumble apologies they hadn't offered 30 minutes ago. Frederick nodded at each one, didn't say much. Colton tried to slip out through a side door. Savannah was leaning against it, arms crossed, phone in hand. I recorded everything you said, Colton. The breeding comment, the knowing your place comment, all of it. Colton went pale. I was joking, you can't... Try me. He didn't try her. He left through the front door instead. Fast. 48 hours. That's all it took for the whole world to find out. Savannah posted the video at 11 p.m. that night. She didn't add a caption, didn't need to. Just Colton's face, Colton's voice, and Colton's words. Knowing your place, breeding, different worlds, playing on a loop for the internet to judge. By morning, it had 600,000 views. By noon, 2 million. By the end of the second day, 4.3 million. Trending on every platform. Quote tweeted by activists, journalists, athletes, and 3 members of Congress. The comments section was a war zone, and Colton was losing. Then the journalists came. A reporter from the Hartford Courant broke the full story first. She'd been tipped off by someone at the venue, probably a caterer, maybe a guest with a guilty conscience. Didn't matter. She had the details, all of them. The headline hit like a freight train. Groom ejects bride's father from $350,000 wedding. Didn't know he was the billionaire behind his own company. By that evening, CNN picked it up. Then MSNBC, then NBC News, then The Root, then Essence, then every podcast, blog, and commentary channel with a microphone and an opinion. Frederick Turner's name was everywhere, not because he wanted it to be, because the story was too perfect, too painful, too real. Bradley Davis was identified within hours. His LinkedIn profile was flooded with messages, none of them kind. His professional headshot became a meme. Someone put it next to Frederick's calm face on the bench with the caption, "He owned the whole company and still didn't raise his voice." That image alone got shared 11 million times. But the internet wasn't done. It never is. Someone dug up Bradley's old college social media posts. Fraternity photos with Confederate flag decorations at a party. A tweet from 2014. "Diversity is just corporate code for lowering the bar." A comment on a friend's post about affirmative action. "If they want equality, they should earn it like the rest of us." One by one, the receipts stacked up. And the picture they painted wasn't a man who made one mistake at a wedding. It was a man who'd been this way his entire life. Inside Pinnacle Atlantic Holdings, things moved fast. The board convened an emergency session the Monday after the wedding. Frederick attended, his first board meeting in 3 years. He sat at the head of the table. Didn't say much. Didn't need to. His presence alone said everything. They hired outside counsel, a firm specializing in workplace discrimination, to conduct a full internal investigation of Bradley's department. The findings came back in 2 weeks. They were worse than anyone expected. 3 additional employees of color, 2 Black, 1 Latino, had been denied promotions or raises under Bradley's direct supervision. Each time the justification was vague. Not the right fit, needs more seasoning, doesn't align with team culture. Different words, same meaning. A hostile work environment complaint had been filed 6 months earlier by a junior associate named Elijah Anderson, the same analyst from the HR file. The complaint detailed repeated microaggressions, exclusion from key meetings, and one incident where Bradley referred to him as "our little quota project" during a team dinner. The complaint had been buried by a mid-level HR manager, the same one who played golf with Bradley on Thursdays. That HR manager was terminated the same week. But it didn't stop there. The investigation uncovered something else, something Bradley probably thought no one would ever find. He'd been inflating his department's performance metrics for 18 months, adjusting numbers, padding reports, skewing data to justify his quarterly bonus. Not by a little, by a lot. Enough to trigger a fraud review. Pinnacle Atlantic's legal team referred the matter to federal regulators. Elijah Anderson filed his lawsuit on a Wednesday morning. Federal Court. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Employment discrimination based on race. The complaint was 42 pages long and read like a horror novel about what it's like to be Black in a department run by a man who thinks diversity is a joke. Pinnacle Atlantic didn't fight it. They cooperated fully, settled with Elijah for an undisclosed amount, significant enough that his attorney called it life-changing in a press interview. The company also issued a public commitment to restructure its internal reporting process, hire an independent ombudsman, and establish a zero-tolerance policy for discriminatory conduct at every level. Frederick insisted on that last part personally. Grant Davis tried to make it all go away. He called in favors, old friends from the club, a state senator he'd donated to for 15 years, a media consultant who specialized in reputation management. None of it worked. Frederick Turner's legal team was bigger, smarter, and better funded because it was Pinnacle Atlantic's legal team, and they weren't playing defense, they were playing offense. The Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities opened a formal inquiry into Bradley's conduct. His country club membership was revoked, unanimously, which was a first in the club's 90-year history. His name was removed from a charity gala committee he'd co-chaired for 2 years. The charity issued a public statement calling his behavior fundamentally incompatible with our values. Bradley's social world didn't just shrink, it evaporated. And then there was Naomi. She filed for annulment the week after the wedding that never was. It took 4 days. No contest. No negotiation. Done. 3 weeks later, she gave one interview, just one, to Essence magazine. She didn't talk about Bradley. She didn't trash him. She didn't say his name once. She talked about her father. She talked about growing up in Bridgeport, not knowing they were wealthy. About hand-me-down clothes and public school and summer jobs at the grocery store. About the values Frederick instilled. Humility, discipline, treating people the same whether they wore a three-piece suit or a janitor's uniform. She read part of the letter from the brown paper gift, the part that said, "The measure of a man is not the suit he wears, but the way he treats someone he believes can do nothing for him." That quote went viral overnight, printed on t-shirts, shared in graduation speeches, tattooed on at least 3 people's forearms within the first week. Frederick, in his only public statement, said this, "I didn't build Pinnacle Atlantic to impress anyone. I built it so my daughter could have choices. And this week, she made the right one." The next day, the board announced a new initiative, the Turner Foundation Fellowship, a scholarship and mentorship program for first-generation professionals of color entering corporate America. The first class had 200 applicants in 72 hours. Justice wasn't just served, it was built into the foundation, literally. So where are they now? Frederick Turner moved back into his apartment in Bridgeport. Same 2 bedrooms, same leaky faucet. He still irons his own suits on Sunday mornings, still drives the same 10-year-old sedan, still eats breakfast at the same diner on Main Street where the waitress calls him honey and doesn't know his net worth. But a few things changed. He started attending Pinnacle Atlantic board meetings again, once a month, in person. He sits at the head of the table, same navy suit, same quiet voice. But now everyone in that room knows exactly who he is, and more importantly, they know what he stands for. He got invited to speak at Harvard Business School, then Wharton, then Howard. His topic every time, "The suit doesn't make the man." He tells the same story, the wedding, the bench, the brown paper gift. And every time, the room goes silent in the same place. And every time someone in the audience cries. He doesn't charge a speaking fee. He never has. Naomi Turner moved back to Connecticut, took a small apartment 20 minutes from her father. She went back to her career in nonprofit education consulting, building literacy programs for underserved schools across the state. She's not dating anyone. She says she's not ready. She says she's learning the difference between being loved and being collected. She carries the pocket watch everywhere, in her purse, every day. She says it reminds her that real value doesn't have a price tag. She and Frederick have dinner together every Thursday. Same diner, same booth, same waitress. Some weeks they talk for hours. Some weeks they just sit together and that's enough. Reginald Simmons was named CFO of the Year by Black Enterprise magazine. His handling of the crisis, the termination, the investigation, the foundation launch, became a case study at 3 different MBA programs. When a reporter asked him what it was like to walk into that wedding, he smiled and said, "I've walked into boardrooms where people underestimated me my whole career. That wedding was no different, except this time, the look on the man's face was worth the trip." Elijah Anderson got his promotion. Finally, senior analyst, corner office, first recipient of the Turner Foundation Fellowship Mentorship Track. He mentors 2 junior analysts now, both black, both first-generation professionals. He said in an interview, "Frederick Turner didn't just fight for me, he built a system so the next person doesn't have to fight alone." Bradley Davis is unemployable. Every Google search of his name brings up the same articles, the same headlines, the same meme of his face next to Frederick's. He moved to a different state, sold the condo, filed for bankruptcy after the lawsuit settlements drained what was left of his savings. No public statement, no apology, not one word. His father, Grant, stopped returning calls from old friends. His mother, Helen, left the country club, not by choice. Colton Moore was fired from his firm the week Savannah's video went viral. The firm issued a 3-paragraph statement distancing itself from his reprehensible personal conduct. He deleted all social media, disappeared, nobody misses him. So here's my question for you. Have you ever watched someone get judged, dismissed, humiliated, thrown aside, just because of how they looked, because of the color of their skin, because of the price of their clothes? What did you do? And if you could go back to that moment right now, would you do something different? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this story hit you somewhere real, smash that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're not subscribed yet, come on now. You already know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. But before you go, remember this. The measure of your character isn't how you treat someone who can help you. It's how you treat someone you think can do nothing for you. Don't wait for the twist to do the right thing.